When it comes to sci-fi movies, a distinct sense of excitement and thrill runs through our body. Sci-fi movies have been entertaining and watched by people for quite a time now. But we like them based upon the wonders of science they depict and up to what extent that science is accurate. They are all about the tempting romance and fascination of space. Today we will discuss one such fascinating movie, Ad Astra. We have seen movies about the existence of aliens, our contact with them, but not about the opposite. What if we are alone in the universe? Ad Astra, to an extent, addresses this question and with a unique approach. As said by Clarke, there are two possibilities. Either we are alone in the universe, or we are not. Both of these ideas are equally terrifying. What if we are alone in this vast universe? What if we are all that matters? If that's the case, why is it? Until now, we don't have any perfect plan to live and sustain in outer space. We read and hear speculations of life on different exoplanets that exhibit Earth-like features and believed to be habitable, and still, we have found nothing. It's a very intriguing question that has not only baffled me, but many scientists around the world. Ad Astra depicts the endless human pursuit to find life in space. If you've watched the movie, let's briefly discuss what happens in it. But before that, let us give you a spoiler alert. And all those who haven't watched this movie, go watch it, guys. Ad Astra revolves mainly around the protagonist, Roy McBride, who is a fearless, lonesome astronaut who is one of the best in his company. He inherited his father's passion and reputation, who was also a very famous astronomer. They observed a sudden power surge of gamma ray bursts on the Earth, causing deaths of over 40,000 people around the world. When the scientists at the Spacecom, a NASA-like government organization in the movie, observed this surge, they discovered that this gamma ray burst came from Neptune. Roy's father, Clifford McBride, was a legend. He was the first man to go to Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune in what they called the Lima project, but scientists later lost communications with him. Roy is then informed that his father might be alive, and the cause of this gamma ray bursts was the Lima project. Roy is then asked to go to Mars and contact his father. Later, he comes to know that his father might be the cause of the surge. His father was the captain of the Lima project and was very determined to find life in outer space. But the loneliness and being far from home affected his fellow crew members. They wanted to go back, but Clifford was so determined to find life that he killed all those who mutinied against him and cut off all the communications with Spacecom. Eventually, he killed the last of the surviving ones too, and during the fight they caused a power surge near Neptune. Ad Astra deals with a very different and uncommon idea of extraterrestrial life. The movie not only elegantly describes human exploration to space, but also a vivid description of what it is like being in space. What if we are really alone in the universe? Or maybe we are not intelligent enough to communicate with them. It could be because they are more intelligent than us, or they might be single-celled organisms. If that's the case, what does it mean for us? The movie revolves around this central idea. The movie begins with a psychological evaluation of Roy, which tells us how important it is for astronomers to be in the peaceful state of mind. We see a giant tower also, which speaks about the high ambitions of humans to look out in space. In the coming years, space travel will be developed and easier. Through companies like SpaceX and Virgin Atlantic have laid out plans for space travel, but still there is a lot of work to do. The movie shows that commercial travel to space will be a very common thing, with humans going to the moon and space. Even though we will be very advanced and developed, our human consciousness and behavior will be the same, and this theme is very successfully presented in the film. We can see when Roy travels to the moon, he has to even pay for his pillow, and it's like the commercial planes of the current time. The movie draws a picture of how human exploration and colonialism would look like in the coming years. No matter how much advanced we become, humanity will always follow us. The movie tells us that few things will change. Companies and restaurants existed before and will exist today. Even on the moon, we see original companies that exist today, and will probably exist soon. If we look 50 years back and think about what has changed, we observe that not much has changed for humans. Fast food restaurants like McDonald's and others existed way back, and they will exist too. What will the moon be like when the humans colonize it? Well, probably it will also be not much different. There will be disputed land and borders between countries. There will be controversies for natural resources, and countries will have secret treaties between them. There will be unexplored and no man's lands that will have thieves and pirates, much like the terrorist organizations today. Overall, the human nature will not change. We will always fight and deal amongst ourselves, whether on Earth or in outer space. Mars is depicted very finely in the movie. Mars has a network of underground tunnels or lakes, and Roy uses one to illegally go to the test site. Mars also has many lava tunnels, which are used for accommodations of humans in the movie. They are a very plausible way for accommodation of humans because they already exist. The movie also addresses a very subtle element. It's the human psychology. It addresses this point that how the psychology of astronauts are affected from traveling into space, how weary the journey is for them, and how it affects their mental condition. No matter how dedicated they are to their work and projects, only 200 miles above the Earth, when they see the Earth, they see home, and that vision, that view of the blue marble affects them. They are still grounded and rooted to who we are as a species. People that have been to the moon have seen the Earth as a celestial body in a sea of celestial bodies, and that triggers a very negative feeling. All the people that have been to the moon and look up and see the Earth, all of the psychological questions become quite different. Loneliness creeps in, and it forces them for reassessment of what it means to be part of this human race. Of all the 12 Apollo astronauts that have been to the moon, most of them have been somehow affected by it. Neil Armstrong went to live on his farm in Ohio, and they heard not much from him. Buzz Aldrin has been very open about his alcoholism and depression he faced after returning. Edgar Mitchell started talking about aliens. There was a greater need for those men who saw the Earth in such a state and tried to attach themselves with some greater meaning. They had to undergo an existential crisis, and that is very clearly depicted in the movie. Imagine what it would be like in outer space and going as far as places like Neptune and beyond. The darkness and the unending infinite space which makes us feel extremely small and would affect our psychological state. Roy McBride is depicted as a lonely astronaut without any family, in a way that he was a perfect astronaut to go on any missions. We can relate this with the choice of astronauts made even today. Organizations prefer people who love to be alone and not question their inner lives. A normal person will be affected beyond imagination from the dark, endless void of space. People are invited for conducting experiments where they are made to stay in close quarters for a long time. And for that, they need a very special kind of people, those who are loners. An excellent example will be Neil Armstrong. After coming back to Earth and addressing the media, we can see in his interview that he talks less about what it was like to remain in space, to see the first man to set foot on the moon. Rather, he talked about the engineering and physics behind it. He was the perfect person for them. So we can imagine how NASA and other organizations make their choice. The journey to Neptune was bizarre and erratic. The journey tells us what it means for the people of Earth to be in space. It deeply affects them. Their behavior changes, their ideas change. They face a crisis in their mind. Roy, though he was a loner in the long run, endless infinite space did a number on him. The darkness of space is cruel, which brought a surge of thoughts in his mind. Astronomers are deeply affected. They get flashbacks and monologue starts. Roy's father was so bent on finding life in space that he could not face the fact that we might be alone in this universe. He was so obsessed to find intelligent life and give meaning to his life, but he couldn't. In the end, he asked his son to let him go into space and succumb to his failure. The movie tells us we are very optimistic about finding life in space and naming habitable planets, but still, we have no success. We have never entertained the fact that what if we are alone in this infinite universe? and that's worrying and terrible. More terrible than the presence of intelligent life, because if that's the case, we have to rethink our approach. Why are we so special then? And what should we do then for the future? The universe appears to be dead and empty. No one's sending us messages and no one answering our calls. We might be completely alone, trapped in the universe. If we let life on this planet die, it can be that all the life in the universe would end. Does that scare you? If yes, then no problem. You are having the correct reaction. It's always good to be optimistic, but we should think about the possibilities. So, what do you all think about the existence of life? Can it really be that we are alone? Or will we find any intelligent life out there? I want all of you to comment in the comment section below and let us know what you think. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel to stay tuned for further interesting content.